Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Scorpio. If Scorpio is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so our card tonight, Scorpio, is the Fool, a most welcomed energy. Okay, and let's go ahead and see what these tea leaves have to say. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. So I hope you all are doing well. Still in the midst of having the flu. It seems to be getting worse every day. I don't know what's going on. But my daughter's getting better, so I'm starting to have hope that maybe in the next day I will feel a little bit better. Okay, so I want to start right here. We have a grandmother energy. And that is right here. You can see, now it's better, sometimes it's easier to see them when you pull it away. You can see kind of the larger picture. We have the face here. You can see the eyes, the kind of, not a super happy look on the face, but looking like they're wearing maybe a bonnet. And I'm looking at this and it looks like we have a dog here. And now we have a dog here. Okay, you can see barking. So I feel like it's like grandma and this barking dog. Like maybe it's her little dog. Every time you come to the door or whenever you'd go over to grandma's house, this dog would just be going nuts. And it was like her little baby. But it was just an ornery little thing. And I just feel like, yeah, and sometimes it was even pretty mean. You can see the teeth right here. Now, excuse me. And so I'm thinking it's like something coming up where you're thinking about her. And I almost feel like it's you kind of take on the same characteristics as this grandma figure. Now, it doesn't have to be your actual blood grandmother, but I feel like it's somebody that when you were a child, at least, that you would go around and see them quite often. Maybe it was a neighbor, maybe it was somebody who watched you, but I feel like this dog, you didn't like it, and it didn't like you necessarily. It was just a mean thing. It only liked this lady, and I feel that as much as that kind of you didn't like the dog, it left kind of an impression on you. As you've gotten older, I feel like maybe you have an animal that's similar. It doesn't have to be a dog. It could be a cat or it could be, a bird or something else. But it is very much only your animal. Nobody else in the household really, it doesn't take well to anybody else, basically. And probably pretty territorial. And it's funny because it feels like a pattern that maybe you don't necessarily recognize. But as I'm saying this, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's weird. But it's funny how life kind of is like that. Sometimes it's like we live out these little details, right? And we don't even necessarily notice them, but they're like woven into our story and they repeat themselves. And so I think that's an interesting little detail there. Now, we have a fish right here. it looks like we have a bear standing. And I almost am like, I'm feeling like there's a person right here, and it almost looks like a queen. It reminds me of the Queen of Hearts with a little crown up here. And holding something, it looks like there's like, I don't know, a lot of smoke coming out. It almost kind of looks like holding the Ace of Cups, and there's kind of this, I don't know, like a mist or a residue coming out. It's forming into the shape of a heart. Now we also have the bear there, it reminds me of maybe like Midsummer or whatever, that movie. If you remember, the bear and the guy inside the bear at the end. I guess, I'm sorry, spoiler, it is an older movie. And it feels like this real kind of energy, primal masculine energy. We have the fish down here. So the fish is abundance of resources. But I feel like there's this real queen energy. And I'm trying to think, it almost feels like, it doesn't feel so much like an external person that you're kind of wooing or maybe, in a relationship with. I almost feel like these are aspects of self. And I feel like there's a sense of really kind of activating and unifying this like kind of supremely masculine energy with this energy of great love and passion. One who is very educated in the art of love, right? And that it can be amorous, it can be eros, it could be romantic or sensual or but it's also agape, right? And this is the love shared with the divine, with God, with Goddess, with the cosmos. And I do. The fish looks very phallic as well. Let me just say that. So I feel like there's a sense of like strong fertility, primal movements, creative and brutal. It just seems brutal. Like a part of your life where you have decided that you're not gonna make yourself small anymore. You're tired of listening to other people's, aspirations and wants from you. Not that you ever were I don't think you were very influenced by that, but I think it's just a time in your life where it's like, I am somebody who lives a life of love. Love is my religion. I do not want to feel guilty about that any longer. I don't care if people don't understand how I live, if it is unconventional, if it is taboo, if it is really boring to most people. Who know, I mean, my idea of love is pretty boring, I realize that now as an adult. As I've gotten older, I did all my wilding when I was, in my 20s, in my early 30s. And, but I feel that, it does. It feels like this, like I can't live in somebody else's idea of life anymore. I'm not going to live in somebody else's story anymore. I have been kind of, laying low, maybe restoring my energies, gathering, my vitality. And here it is. And it is just in time for this beautiful summer or winter, right, in the southern hemisphere. But there's this energy of emerging, of being unapologetic, which is fantastic. Good for you. I love it. Doing the dang thing, living the life that you want to live, not having to hide, not having to, ask, like, I don't think it's like you're asking for permission, but living in a way where it is, yeah, like waiting for people to be permissive of, okay, well, I'm okay with this, right? I even within maybe a relationship, right? Deciding I'm not going to change who I am in a fundamental way. Now, of course, we all have parts of ourselves that are, they are what they are. They come and go. They're phases. They're eras of our being. Maybe we, care about them greatly, but they're not the most important thing, right? We're all willing to make some kind of compromises. But this here, whatever this is, there's just a sense of I'm doing what I'm gonna do. And I feel like this is a successful period of your life because it's a powerful combination of archetypes. If you can think of a Queen of Hearts. Now, dispel the dispel the thought of Alice in Wonderland. I always kind of cringe when I think of that one. I'm not going to get into, my feminist musings about her. But let me just say, I love a difficult woman, okay? And maybe sometimes a little bit cruel too, right? But I do feel like this is a fiery love. This is a energy of I will go as far as I have to. Tell me what I wouldn't do, right? And again, it doesn't have to be amorous love or romantic love. It could be whatever. All of the things. Family, your children, your learning, your education, the things that you value, your virtues. Okay, now, I don't see a lot of grace sprinkled in here. I think that, as important as grace is in our lives, at times we must be brutally soft. And sometimes we have to just, care about what other people feel, of course. Do not trespass upon their path, or affect them in a way that goes against their authentic self or whatever it is that they're doing in their lives that's important to them. But, sometimes it's like you just have to you have to be save self is what I call it, save self, and nobody, well, not nobody, but I would say, Scorpio, you are a group of people that cannot live inauthentically for very long. When you kind of shrink to somebody's will or whim, you know, maybe, listen, there are a lot of situations where you have to really, you join the military, you end up in jail. These are separate things, right? I'm just thinking of, you know, things that are institutional. You work in, you know, I don't know, corporate America or something like this. There are lots of rules. You have to kind of, you know, abide them as much as you can. And you may be able to do that for so long, but I mean, you know, if you don't have other outlets to express yourself, if you are living in a household or a relationship where people try to control you to that level, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for them. It's just, that is a mess waiting to happen. And I feel like you are just on the fully other side of it. Right? You are doing what Scorpio wants to do. And it feels like you are very activated. And this is a time where it's important for you to really make some moves, right? You know, figure out, what are you doing for money? What kind of work? Do you need something else? Do you have business ideas? Are you thinking about going back to school? Moving? You know, whatever it is. Changing some aspect of your life. This is the time to make the moves. Because you are fully yourself. And that's what I love about Scorpio. I think a lot of people don't understand it and maybe think in times that you could be kind of selfish. Well, good, be selfish. You know, don't hurt others, but heck yeah, be selfish. Live without those regrets of trying to conform to somebody else's world. Okay, so we also it looks like we have a face again. We have glasses. We have kind of a cool hair up here. It reminds me of pompadour. We have like a nose and the chin and everything else. It reminds me of like a cool guy, father figure, older brother. Kind of almost reminds me of the Man on the Moon, right? That kind of, if you remember the McDonald's one. But this is just like, what was that dude's name? There was a cartoon. I forget what it was called. Was it the Venture Brothers or something? I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't watch it. I remember it being advertised though. But it just kind of this old like 50s like powdered toast man from like the guys that were always on like Ren and Stimpy, right? Just this kind of real alpha male or whatever type of energy. And so yeah, I feel like it feels like father, grandfather maybe, just hyper masculine, okay? And I feel like being around somebody like this, obviously it affects you. I don't think in a bad way though, necessarily. You know, I think that a lot of the conversation now, and I'm not going to get into like, you know, gender politics or anything else like that, because I don't know what the heck I think about anything, really. I'm just trying to survive the day most of the time. So, but, you know, there's a lot of, at least in my algorithms, I see a lot of people kind of going for this, like, you know, any, like, kind of real hyper masculine not cool anymore, really. I don't know. That's what it seems like. And that's what they'd like you to think. But I think we all have our place. If we like it or not. If we like what somebody's like or not. We all have our place. And, I think that this is a person that you looked up to. This is a person who maybe really did live and conform to like really, clear, old school, outmoded gender roles. But I do, and I don't know that you inherited that or not. I don't know. But I feel like this is a person that at the very least, you felt safe with them. Excuse me. And here's something too about them is that they always did what they said. And I'm sorry. Ooh, I gotta get a drink here. My goodness. They always did what they said. And I think that's the big takeaway here is that, and I feel we have a child over here holding maybe a doll or something. And I feel like there was just a sense of being very close to always like following them around. If they were home, you were following them around. And they showed you how to do stuff. And if they said they were going to do something or take you somewhere or whatever, they did it. And I feel like this is just like ingrained into your character now. I think that you are somebody who almost always honors your word, unless the circumstances are out of your control. I feel like this is a person that really instilled in you a sense of care, taking care of your character, and being part of the family, even when it was difficult, right? And I think that's even still the case. I think that you still are part of the family, even if you have felt like you were maybe a black sheep, right? But you've made it work. You've made it work, and, I just feel like in general, you are somebody who has a lot of grit, because I feel like a lot of Scorpio people, it's almost like you don't fit into this world somehow. You're very like unique beings. You're very like, what's the word? Cultivated, right? Highly cultivated into whatever your interests or maybe subculture or whatever it is that you identify with. You fully kind of have cultivated identities within that realm, and that maybe didn't always go along with the family, right? But I do feel like you figured out a way to find your place, to carve out your place. Does that mean that you're going to stick around and put up with stuff? No, but I think that you really always stood up for yourself, and you held your ground. And I think that kind of, has always made people, especially people in your family, they absolutely have respect for you. They absolutely do. But I think also, on the other side of it, it's burdensome. It's something that will always, kind of be in those days that seem a little more difficult, a little more bleak, maybe a little more gray. There's a pang of sadness in this not belonging. But that's ultimately, I think all people really feel like that. If you are different or not, or we perceive each other as being different or not, You know, I think everybody kind of has this feeling at some point in their life, if not all the time. Okay. Now we have a 2 and we have a 2. No, 22 actually right there. This one's 22. Oops. And there's a 2. And, and we have this candle of illumination right here, this big one right there. And then up here I see it almost looks like a dog fighting with a person. And this person has, I don't know what that is, but it looks like maybe like a club or something. As I pull this out, it looks like we have a pig's nose right there. We also have a star. So I almost kind of feel like there's a sense of your ever oppositional nature, right? Kind of always going against the grain there. Never gonna just lay down and take it, right? You're just absolutely always going to go your own way no matter what, even if it brings up a real sense of chaos in your life, okay? So we have 14 as well. And then the dog and the person, yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like sometimes when you're getting into this certain energy, oh, and it's a Leo. So we have Leo here. Leo. Okay, so we have Leo. Now, I feel like, there's a Leo person, maybe a friend, maybe a significant other. This is the dog, because in this dog, I know there's been a few dogs in there. But this dog is the loyal best friend archetype, right? And I almost feel like this is kind of who you turn on sometimes when you're not feeling too good. And I feel like this is where a lot of work really needs to happen, is that you, even, you know, however old you are as an adult, you know, you still turn on the people that love you the most. And I think that's something you lament greatly. I think this is something that you have been thinking about. And I feel like there is a sense of like trying to tone it down, right? And temper yourself. You know, when somebody, I think it's like almost like they show you care. Maybe they say something that is difficult to hear. Or maybe they're just loving on you, and for one reason or another, it just, you know, it's kind of this, you know, thing where, you take it out on the people that you know are going to stick around. You know, for kids, they call it our safe, like you're the safe person. My daughter, I've had to read a lot about it, you know, because you know, my husband's always around. Shout out to Devin Serpentaro. My husband Paul's wonderful. But, you know, for the first few years of her life, I was the primary parent. Now it's a little more even because of the way our life is set up. It's easier. But you know, I was her really safe person. So she absolutely would have the meltdowns and the hitting me and, you know, saying mean things to me sometimes or whatever. And, you know, it's just normal stuff kids do. Nothing out of the realm of normal, right? So I had to look it up because, listen, I'm sensitive. I would, like, start to cry, and I'd have to, like, walk away and be, you know, because I'm like, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know what to do. I don't like being treated like that. But she's also a kid, so I have to figure this out. I got to get it together, Lenor, right? Yeah, so oftentimes, I mean, I guess this is, you know, you're their safe person. So they know that they can kind of learn about their feelings through their interactions with you. And that includes, you know, the negative, the rage, the anger, the, you know, being kind of snotty and being a little bit rude and all that. And so I think I'm not saying you're a toddler, but I think it's something similar to that, right? And let me just say, I feel like we all do this. I know that I recognize this in myself, you know, of course. I think that's why, you know, sometimes, you know, you meet people and they're lovely to everybody, but then, you know, they're always fighting with their spouse, or, you know, they're just absolutely vile to like their parents, or, you know, whatever. And, you know, so it's like once we become aware of it, it's like, okay, so now I got to figure this out. This is a part of myself that I got to do, you know, I got to kind of tighten it up a little bit, figure these feelings out. Where do I put them? What kind of, you know, one thing I like to talk about a lot, because I don't talk about it as much in my readings now, but I did maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, anger, right? I was going through a spell, and they come and go for me, where, yeah, I was feeling a lot of anger. I felt uncertain about life, and I just didn't know, things were changing. We were getting ready to figure out, like, are we going to stay where we live? Are we going to move? What are we doing? Everything is, we're outgrowing the house that we're in, you know, all this stuff. And I was feeling pretty angry. I felt like I was losing myself in all of this commotion and chaos, and not having any time to do the things that I wanted to do, and so on, you know. We all go through these things. And there was anger. It just would come up. And it wasn't the first time in my life, so I was familiar how I was feeling. And implementing things that, like, primal screaming. You know, I've said this before here on my readings. I would go out behind the garage and scream. Sometimes I'd cuss even. I would cuss real loud. And I'm sure the neighbors thought, well, this lady is, you know, what is she doing? Especially during the winter when it was like super quiet and I'm just out there like going off. But I didn't want to subject other people to it, not my family, right? Maybe, you know, people hearing me a little bit ambiently or whatever, okay. But I didn't want to directly put that anger onto somebody else. And things like that. They have those like demolition rooms or demo rooms where you just like go and break stuff. Cutting wood, that's one that, excellent way to get it out. Also good for intentional movement. But listen, there's so many ways, right? And it doesn't have to be through our interactions with other people. We can find outlets. So let's see. We also have, it looks like a mountain. And we have, it looks like the phases of the moon. Or the stations of is it the sun or the moon? Stations of the whatever, both, I guess, across the sky. And I'm looking at this and it feels like an evolution, right? And I feel like there's just a time here where, you're working on so many things. Excuse me. And coming to these really heightened, places where there's heightened sensitivity and impulse and sensation and feeling very much in your body and alive and interconnected and all of these kinds of things. And on top of that, deciding I'm going to live how I want to live, period. I'm not going to kind of play this role or whatever to make somebody else happy, because it's come to a point where I don't feel myself. And, at the same time, working on, as I'm exiting this kind of feeling like I've been in this maybe kind of stagnant place, how am I going to exit this with this renewed energy, but also treating people around me with love and respect, when they challenge me, or I'm feeling angry, or even kind of like hypomania, or getting annoyed. People are in my way. They're trying to stifle my progress. And so I think it's important to kind of spend some time meditating on this, thinking about, what are realistic and honest to yourself. I'm not talking about to anybody else. Being honest to yourself, what is doable? What am I willing and not willing to do? And if it gets to be too much, what is my plan? So overall, I'm just looking at this and I feel like it's kind of all of these mixed feelings, but they're so potent. And I feel like they're so powerful, and you're engaging with them and becoming and becoming and becoming. And, it's a beautiful time. In my eyes, as I'm seeing this, it's a beautiful time. But you have to be mindful. And that's what it comes down to. Now, we're going to look at the Wild Offering Oracle cards. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip through here and stop where it feels right. Okay, and it says direction. Lord, please show me the right action right now. Please bring me a sign and a miracle that gives clear direction. May I hear the promptings of my own body. And if for some reason I'm about to head the wrong way, please stop me. Please stop me. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Perfect card for this reading. I'm going to take a drink real quick. I'm trying to do it as quietly as possible. I don't know. I know some people don't like the sound of it, but I just have to drink things sometimes. Sometimes I need the fluids. So anyways, Scorpio, I love you. Absolutely and totally. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. And it is free to subscribe. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear from you. All right, with that, I will say again, I love you. Take care of yourself. We'll talk again in just a few days. Good night.